Y'all ready for this? Welcome to Sports Kid Drama Kid. I am Jim. I'm the Sports Kid.
I'm Andi. I'm the Drama Kid.
And today, I have a baseball episode for you, Andi.
Oh, great.
Don't be so excited. Why that reaction?
I don't like baseball. It's so boring.
Well, we're going to try to change that with a story that is about baseball, but
Is not boring.
is not boring.
Okay, great.
I did grow up playing it. My dad coached.
That's right.
My major league, little league.
Was that awkward at all to have your dad as your coach or no?
It was mostly good.
Like, how old were you?
10 to 12.
Oh, okay.
No, it was mostly good. He would have all the equipment, which was cool.
Free access
Free
to the
access
equipment.
to batting helmets, catcher's mitts.
As many batting helmets as you want. Were they like in your garage?
Yeah. They were in the garage or in the trunk. And so we would go like to the batting cages or wherever on the weekend or if we wanted to. And my dad had all the equipment. Yeah, he had a full catcher suit.
Oh, like with the mask? With
Each coach gets or received like this giant sort of army burlap sack of things or several of those. And you would lug them from the car. Like I would do that with my dad or any kids that showed up. So baseball story today.
Okay.
And it's going to be about one player. And that player is Pete Rose. Now,
Heard of him.
you've heard of him.
I've heard the name.
Okay. And do you know anything about Pete Rose as a baseball player, as a person?
I want to say he has not played during our lifetime, has he? Okay. For some reason, even though I know this isn't Pete Rose, I got like an image of like Newman's Own salad dressing. You know, like a Paul Newman type figure.
Yeah, I think if things went a little differently for Pete Rose,
he'd be on salad dressing and lemonade.
Yeah, he might be the face of a couple different vinaigrettes. But they did not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a name that I've heard, and I feel like I've only ever heard it coming out of the mouth of like a boomer-aged man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone freaking loves Pete Rose at that age.
I have no idea what team he played for. Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, go for it.
He was on the Colorado Rockies.
No, they weren't even around. They weren't even a team when he played.
I didn't realize they were a newer
Yeah, they were an
franchise.
expansion team.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I will just get into it.
We don't want to do 10 more minutes of Andi guesses sports.
Pete Rose finished his major league career with 4,256 hits. Which is the most of all time.
I was about to say, I don't know if that's a lot or a little.
He is Major League Baseball's hit king. He is the one with that
Now, when you
record.
say hits, do you mean, I know what a hit is, but what constitutes like hitting the ball at all or like hitting the ball and getting on a base?
Hitting the ball and getting on a base, a home run also counts.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a hit that has to do something positive for the game.
Yep.
It can't.
You got it.
I got it. Okay.
Yep, single, double, triple, home
That
run.
actually is impressive because often most hits, based on what I've seen, get like caught or ground or picked up.
Yeah. He was nicknamed Charlie Hustle, the same name that Chuck has for Jimmy in Better Call Saul. Charlie
Where'd
Hustle.
they get Charlie from?
I don't exactly know. It started when he was with the Reds his rookie year. He was drafted by the Reds, and he was like a scrappy player trying to make the team as a rookie. He played with the Reds from 1963.
Cincinnati?
Yes.
Great.
Cincinnati Reds. He played with the Cincinnati Reds from 1963 to 1978, where he was part of the Big Red Machine, which was the nickname given to those 70s Reds teams, or teams of that era, because they were super good.
So the Cincinnati Reds were red hot during that 15-year span that Pete Rose was.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's a picture of Pete Rose on the Reds, just for your knowledge.
cutie.
Yeah, that's Pete Rose.
Wow. You know, his hair is kind of exactly the way I pictured. That uniform, that is a retro uniform.
Yeah, at the time it wasn't. He was part of the Big Red Machine, really good hitter.
Sorry, it just sounds like an indie band.
Florence and the Big Red Machine.
Or like a children's book.
Yeah.
Like the Big Red Machine. And it's like about a fire truck that has like feelings. I don't know.
The fire truck didn't like it when the house burned down. So Pete Rose as a player was seen as sort of this scrappy everyman, really good hitter, also really like boisterous and like kind of
big personality.
What
position did he play?
So he played a lot of positions. That's also part of like his
okay, I'll let you get there.
Thing is he played a bunch of different positions, moved around. He was really good at outfield, but he played second base, left field, right field, third base, first base, kind of all what the team needed. He won Gold Gloves as an outfielder in 69 and 70.
I'm assuming that's like an award for being really good at being on the field.
Yes. It's a fielding defensive award.
Defense, yes.
For your position, there'll be a Gold Glove every year awarded to each National League and American League best person at each position.
Oh, okay.
In the field.
All right.
For defense.
Nice.
Yeah. So he was good there. This is a famous sort of clip of Pete Rose from the 1970 All-Star Game. And now, what do you know about All-Star Games?
What do I know about All-Star Games? It's just like a collection of all the best players from all the teams.
National versus American League.
Oh, right, yeah.
Usually, baseball's more competitive than some of the other more boring All-Star Games where it's just for
in my
fun.
Experience, it's like it's just for fun, and like the big athletes that you want to see often don't play because they don't want to get injured.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is a play that I just wanted to show you that's kind of famous and indicative of who Pete Rose was. So we're in this like exhibition game of the All-Star Game that meant nothing at the time. And I'll show you.
And right into the stretch. Looking back and throws up the middle. Rose is on his way around. Picked up by Otis. Rose is coming to the plate. Throws a throw. He's in.
Oh my God, he barreled right into him.
Yep. So in that play, you can't really hear too much from that little clip. Because it sounds like Rose rounding third. So Pete Rose famously fractured catcher Ray Fosse's shoulder on that play.
Oh, no.
In an All-Star game. Essentially like ending Fosse's career.
No.
Like he wasn't ever the same again. Like
and it wasn't even a game that mattered.
Nope. It just kind of...
Did he have to run into him?
No. So that clip, the reason I showed it was just sort of like, that's a classic like Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle, like making things happen even though...
Do anything for the sport.
Even in an All-Star game. He played with the Reds from 63 to 78. He played with the Phillies from 1979 to 1983.
Go Phils.
Played with the Expos for a short little thing in 1984. And then he came back to the Reds to end his career 84 through 1986.
Wow, so like almost right before we were born.
So he was the leader in hits, games played, at-bats, singles, and outs, which is not necessarily a good thing. He won 3 World Series, 3 batting titles, meaning he was like the best average batter. Most Valuable Player Award, 2 Gold Gloves, and the Rookie of the Year Award when he was a rookie.
So he was good at both hitting offense and defense.
Yes. Pete Rose has like kind of an all-time great.
Is that pretty rare in baseball to be that good at both offense and defense?
Yes. And it's because, I think, players need to specialize in order to make the pros or be that good at any one thing. So they like focus hard. Most humans.
You know, it's the same in performing. You can be a triple threat all you want, but at the end of the day, you got to choose. Do you want to be an actor, a singer, a dancer? Or do you want to be Jennifer Lopez, who can do all 3?
I've actually always wondered this about
Jennifer Lopez?
No, but like EGOT people. Are they considered good or just they did it all?
So sometimes people are multi-talented. Sometimes it is because they're so specialized. that they just get hired to do absolutely everything. And sometimes it's just because we can't get enough media.
Yeah, like is Lin-Manuel Miranda an EGOT yet?
We're talking about Pete Rose, who is the Lin-Manuel Miranda of baseball.
No?
Okay. Whatever.
All right, so here's where it gets a little interesting. So Pete Rose took over as player manager in 85, 86, and in 87.
Wait, was he still playing? Or this was after?
He was still playing.
Oh.
And he managed the team as the coach, too.
Wait a
Which is
minute.
a thing that used to happen in baseball.
Like manager as in like the coach?
Yeah, there was like a player-coach thing that used to happen.
Oh, my God. So he's like the Orson Welles of baseball, actually.
Yeah, he did it all.
Yeah.
Actually, in a weird way, he is kind of the Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I was right.
Now that I think about it. Yeah, so he player coached for 2 years from the bench, like also managing the roster.
That
and
seems...
then became the coach, only the coach in 1987 and 1988.
Okay. Wow, so he's good at literally everything.
Yeah, so...
Does he also do the books?
Well...
Oh,
no. No. We'll get there.
Okay.
On April 30th, 1988, Pete Rose gets ejected from a game for arguing a call and pushing an umpire and was suspended for 30 days.
Oh, boy. He loves to aggressively, physically attack people near home plate, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
To short. Larkin. Oh, boy, he pulled him off the base. Safe. He's safe. The run scored. Do you believe it? A late call by the first base umpire.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Bill Robinson, I think, made the call for him, and because it was late, Osaski didn't have a chance to throw home to get Johnson.
So there's Pete.
I don't believe
Yeah, I
it.
see
I
him.
don't either. Look at this. That's what Pete's arguing about.
But why
The
did he
late
call?
call.
Well, Pete's got a point because he's got to make the call right now.
Oh, boy. Whoa.
Ooh.
Oh, boy. They better grab Pete.
So Pete just got tossed from the game.
I can't wait for David Harbour to play Pete Rose in eventually the biopic.
Rose on Netflix.
It's really something special to see a man in tight white baseball pantaloons getting that uppity.
Anyway, so that's a dramatic event that happened with Pete Rose in 88 as a manager. In the time it took to remove Rose from the field, Cincinnati fans began showering the field with objects including radios, cigarette lighters, and even though the inning wasn't over, everybody retreated to the dugout.
Hold on. Radios?
So people used to bring radios to Major League Baseball games. In fact, you probably can still find people doing that today to listen to the home broadcast while they are watching the game live because it's so boring. Or not because it's so boring, because it's interesting.
I guess you can't hear that stuff when you're in the... Wow, that's special.
I'll show you a little bit of that chaos that this caused. So the fans are all with Pete Rose.
I think he hit Pete Rose in the face, and that's what maybe Pete was telling Eric Gregg that he touched
Oh, my
him.
God.
Yeah.
And certainly mimicked him. And this
So there's trash on the field.
place is a little nuts right now.
Yeah, when he mimicked him, I think that just incited Pete.
So this is sort of a precursor.
Does this end with Pete Rose going to therapy for like anger management?
I don't know if he does, but he might.
I want that for everyone.
So I played you that because it just sort of shows the chaos in Pete Rose and like the high intensity of him as a manager, and that maybe he's a little unhinged.
This is not quite as my favorite. Well, I don't want to say my favorite. I've only seen one other video where a baseball manager gets in a fight with anyone on the field, and you know what I'm talking about.
Tommy Lasorda fighting the Philly Fanatic.
It's so funny. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
We'll play it here.
He's out there, and the Philly Fanatic has...
So the Philly Fanatic is on the field with the Dodgers manager, Tommy Lasorda, and has a fake version of Tommy Lasorda, like a dummy that he's hitting. And Lasorda takes the Philly Fanatics ATV, which he rides around on, and gets into a fight with him.
Why would he take the ATV?
And Lasorda is hitting the Fanatic with the dummy of Lasorda.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
And the Fanatic is just riding off into the sunset on his ATV. Popping wheelie.
Who gave him an ATV?
I don't know, but that's a great idea.
It's incredible. Also, just the Philly Fanatic is so bottom heavy, and he really uses that to his comedic advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know who was inside that Fanatic costume because they're my favorite comedian of all time.
Anyway, that is...
Like, that is my... The physical comedy, like, that is my Charlie Chaplin.
So this is your Pete Rose hitting the umpire.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for anything more in an interaction.
Now it's the end of 1988, heading into 1989. I was born in December of 1988. As we rang in the new year, I was just a little baby, unable to speak a word or understand how cheap everything was relative to today. The average monthly rent was $420. A gallon of gas was just 97 cents.
Oh my God.
In April of 1989, the Tiananmen Square protests took place in Beijing, China, ending violently. The Game Boy was released in July of 1989.
The way
right
you
before...
put those two facts back to back is like when something horrible happens on the news and then there's like a KFC commercial right afterward. You know what I mean?
In April of 1989, the Tiananmen Square protests took place in Beijing, China, ending violently. The Game Boy was released in July of 1989, right before Andi was born. And while kids were building walls of Tetris bricks for the very first time in October of that year, another wall was finally being torn down by Mr. Gorbachev.
Oh my God.
But just as one Cold War was ending, another was starting in the world of sports. That war was one between Major League Baseball and Pete Rose. Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone, Madonna sang in her 1989 hit song Like a Prayer. And Pete Rose, possibly while listening to Like a Prayer, said one to a God of his own understanding, as he stood alone in the shadow of what he was accused of. Because in March of 1989, Sports Illustrated ran a bombshell cover story entitled Under Siege, in which Pete Rose was formally accused of betting on baseball. What do you think about that, and what are your questions?
So I don't think this occurred to me ever, but I guess it makes sense that you're not legally allowed to bet on a sport that you play, coach, or employed by.
That is correct.
But you can bet on others, like a baseball manager can bet on football. Or is that frowned upon as well?
I don't think you're really supposed to be betting on sport in general.
And
but
when you say not supposed to, like that's in like their contract?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it's not like the Constitution says
the
that.
Constitution says thou shalt not bet. That's a commandment.
It could be. Gambling?
That's what not.
There's a lot of
wager false promises. So he's accused and questioned in February. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, that Sports Illustrated article comes out. So Pete vehemently denies the allegations. He's like, "No, I didn't bet on baseball." And then a new commissioner gets voted in, Bart Giamatti, and he assumed the office. And 3 days later, he hires a person to look into this further.
Okay.
Because the commissioner who was about to change hands just was like, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
New guy comes in, Giamatti hires John M. Dowd, who's like this attorney looking into this. Dowd interviewed a bunch of people that associated with Rose, including bookies and bet runners. And basically, there were 52 Reds games that he bet on in 1987.
There were Reds games.
Yes.
Specifically.
Wagering.
Did he bet on other games?
He also bet on a bunch of other games, other sports. He was just really into betting.
That's a nice way of saying gambling addiction. He was just really into betting.
All right, so here's a news clip of the time sort of detailing what was found in the Dowd report and the official report, and Andy's just going to read it for a while.
Baseball has a handwriting experts analysis showing that Pete Rose wrote out gambling slips on games involving the Cincinnati Reds. In addition, the New York Times reported in Thursday's editions the slips have Rose's fingerprints on them as well as being in his handwriting. The betting slips give baseball evidence to support allegations that the manager bet on his own team, an offense with an automatic lifetime ban from the game. Rose, who has sued Commissioner A. Bartlett Giamatti in state court, has maintained he never bet on baseball. His lawyers also have said that baseball's report on gambling allegations written by John M. Dowd was based on hearsay and the word of convicted criminals. However, a source familiar with baseball's investigation told the AP that the betting slips and the expert's verification of Rose's handwriting on them give baseball tangible evidence of Rose's betting. The official, who asked not to be identified, was quoted by the Times saying, "He says he didn't write them, but we're as confident as we could be that he did."
That's not my writing, sir.
I mean, more than anything, it's just fascinating to me that, like, this is how we had to do, like, investigating on whether or not, like, now you're like, log into your DraftKings account. Yep, you did it.
Yeah, we got an online record.
Like, they're literally taking fingerprints from a sheet of paper and getting, like, handwriting analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
So Rose continues to deny all these accusations
I love that he went as wide as, like, I've never bet on any baseball.
I don't bet on baseball. In 89, Rose voluntarily accepts the permanent ban and being placed on baseball's ineligible list. In return, Major League Baseball agreed to make no formal finding with regard to the gambling. According to baseball's rules, Rose could apply for reinstatement in 1 year.
So starts a year of adventures for Pete Rose.
Pete's little adventure begins. Paul Giamatti. I mean, Bart Giamatti.
Wait, did you actually read Paul? Did your brain actually think that said Paul Giamatti? Okay.
Sideways.
I was like, what an incredible joke. And then as you pulled back, I was like, oh, he really thought that said Paul Giamatti. Okay.
Bart Giamatti died of a heart attack in September of 1989.
That's suspicious.
8 days after announcing Rose's suspension. People think that because Giamatti was the one who issued the suspension, if he didn't die, he would have been the person most likely to overturn the suspension because he's the one who was in cahoots with Pete Rose or like at least had this verbal agreement with Pete Rose that he could overturn this.
Appeal, yeah.
Around this time, Rose did have to spend 5 months in jail for tax fraud on memorabilia that he sold. Autographed memorabilia.
At least he's consistent.
He's involved in all this stuff.
I'm going to stay in my lane while I break the law.
So when he was banned from baseball, he's banned from baseball.
He can't even go to a game?
He can go to a game, but he has to pay. Like he can be around it and talk about that he played, but no formal record books really acknowledge him as the best of all time.
Oh, no, really?
All those records that he holds, they're there and they're on paper, but they're with an asterisk that he's not really allowed in baseball. The biggest thing is he's not allowed in the Baseball Hall of Fame, even though he is one of the best baseball players of all time. This has been done with certain people for certain things over the years, but Pete Rose is just notoriously one of the people that like should be in the Hall of Fame based on his baseball credentials, but has been kicked out for betting on baseball. The Dowd report said that no evidence was ever discovered that Rose bet against the Reds, but Dowd said in 2002 that he believed Rose probably did bet against the Reds while managing them.
In 2002, they were still thinking about this?
Oh, yeah. So that's why this is such a thing, is it's been going on since then. He has appealed for reinstatement a number of times over the years, trying to get back into baseball.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive. He desperately...
He wants his name in those record books. He wants to be in the Hall of Fame.
He wants to be in the Hall of Fame. He wants to be like around it, be able to be considered for like a position working for a team or something like that, or just generally being involved. One more thing before we move on to his efforts to get reinstated. There was some reports and connections that like he was connected to the mob, like while betting.
Oh my God.
And because he was like just losing all sorts of sports bets and he owed them money.
Oh.
And so like he would like give memorabilia to try to like pay for things to pay the mob. Like That's all kind of like alleged, but like
Yeah, but it was all kind of tied to each other.
yeah.
He was like, I'll sign a baseball if you'll give me
Yeah.
money
Who
that
knows
I can
what he
give to
did.
the mob.
So let's talk a little bit about the reinstatement efforts over the years. So in 1992, Rose applied for reinstatement. The commissioner at the time, Faye Vincent, these old names.
Faye Vincent.
Faye Vincent that denied it. He came in after Giamatti died. In September of 1998, fast forwarding, Rose applied again for reinstatement with Bud Selig, who was the new commissioner. I think he's a Milwaukee guy. So like my grandpa and dad, and like they always loved Bud Selig, commissioner of baseball from Wisconsin. Bud Selig also never really acted on it, and like heard him out over the years, but never acted on it.
We're now like at like 10 years past this happening.
Yeah, we're like a full decade
Wow.
past, and he's been trying to get reinstated. These commissioners, these old guys are like, nope, the rule of baseball says no. And from what I was reading, it sounds like it's like a grudge. It's like a
I was about to say, like, we may get here eventually, but didn't the Astros, like...
oh boy, you're foreshadowing a little bit of how this ends, or at least my retelling of this ends.
Yeah.
But before we get on to just a little bit more of the drama here, I did want to show you one clip. This is what Pete Rose was up to in the meantime.
Oh, my God. No. Oh, my God.
So describe this.
Pete Rose is at a professional WWF match, and he's getting slammed by a man in a leather mask.
That's Kane.
Kane.
He's been pile drived by Kane.
Oh, there's a name.
Yeah,
there's
he's
a term.
the Undertaker's brother.
No, I mean, there's a term for what just happened to Pete Rose. Okay.
So Pete Rose took a little detour around this time looking for ways to make money and sort of benefit off his fame, and he got tied up with...
this is a good one.
He got tied up with Vince McMahon and the WWF.
Ugh.
And
the influence that Vince McMahon has across...
yeah. And it, to me, it's pretty fitting.
He put him on a stretcher.
It's pretty fitting with like sort of the sleaziness of Pete Rose.
Oh my God, yeah,
as
for
like,
sure.
Of course he's getting pile drived.
Well, because there's not that much separation between the audience that's loving that and the audience that was like throwing their radios on the field. You know what I mean? Like they're probably not the same people, but it's the same kind of energy of like
chaos.
Yeah.
Sporting chaos.
Reigns. Yeah. And he seems to really like chaos.
Yeah. At the 2000 All-Star Game in Atlanta, Jim Gray, great journalist, asked Pete about his allegations and was ridiculed for it.
By Pete?
Yeah, so I'm going to read Jim Gray, and you're going to read Pete Rose.
Script.
Pete, now let me ask you. It seems as though there's an opening. The American public is very forgiving. Are you willing to show contrition, admit that you bet on baseball, and make some sort of apology to that effect?
Not at all, Jim. I am not going to admit to something that didn't happen. I know you're getting tired of hearing me say that, but I appreciate the ovation. I appreciate the American fans voting me on the all-century team. I'm just a small part of a big deal tonight.
With the overwhelming evidence in that report, why not make that step?
No, this is too much of a festive night to worry about that. Because I don't know what evidence you're talking about. I mean, show it to me.
Pete, those who hear this tonight will say you have been your own worst enemy and continue to be. How would you respond to that?
In what way are you talking about?
By not acknowledging what seems to be overwhelming evidence.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're bombarding me like this. I mean, I'm doing an interview with you on a great night, a great occasion, a great ovation. This sounds like Donald Trump.
Yes. A wonderful, wonderful night. The people are wonderful.
Everybody seems to be in a good mood, and you're bringing up something that happened 10 years ago. This is a prosecutor's brief, not an interview, and I'm very surprised of you.
Some would be surprised that you didn't take the opportunity, he said as commercial popped in.
Okay, first of all, hold on. I need to go back to this is too much of a festive night, which is a phrase you're going to be hearing me say whenever something is, whenever you have an issue with something I've done, I'm just going to be like, this is too much of a festive night for you to ask me to wash the dishes after you cooked dinner. This is too much of a festive night.
We've had too good of a time.
Oh my God, that was like Trump cadence.
Yeah. This is the postscript in this little blog post. This ended up becoming an indictment on the American media as much as anything because Gray was ridiculed by the public and the press alike for having the gall to try to bring journalistic credibility to a prefabricated, shiny, happy public event. Rose didn't admit to betting on games until his book, My Prison Without Bars, was published later on. But before we get there...
That title, oh my God.
Before we get there, I do want to touch on Bud Selig a little bit. So Selig did have commentary on this in 2003. Selig acknowledged that he was considering Rose's application, leading to speculation that Rose might return to baseball. Ultimately, Selig took no action. I'm going to play a little clip of Bud Selig just so you can get an idea who he is, just more context.
Pete Rose and Mike Schmidt came to see you as commissioner.
They did.
And
Johnny Bench and a few others.
supporting the elimination of Pete's suspension. What did they want?
Well, they brought Pete to see me, wanted me to meet Pete. Pete asked for the meeting, and I was particularly close. Joe Morgan was there. I was particularly close to Joe and Johnny Bench and Mike Schmidt, whom I like a lot. And that was it. I met Pete. We talked. They left the room, I remember. Pete was there alone with me for a while, and that was it.
Did he acknowledge guilt?
Not that day. He did. Remember, Bart, when he suspended Pete, said he had to reconfigure his life.
That's what Bart said to Pete.
Yes. Yes, said it publicly and said it privately.
Bart Giamatti.
Yes, I remember.
And so Pete knew what he had to do.
Has he done it?
Well, since I was a judge, fortunately, I have seen my own judgment that I have left Bart's ruling stand for a number of reasons.
Couple thoughts.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me that your grandpa and your dad like that man, because that man is basically a combination of your dad and your grandpa.
Yeah.
Johnny Bench?
Yeah, another great player.
What a
from those
name,
teams.
though.
Yeah.
Like, every time he said Johnny Bench,
He was part of the Big Red
I
Machine.
couldn't help but laugh. Yeah, was he the bench in the Big Red Machine? I couldn't know.
They sat on Johnny Bench.
I don't know. Just a funny name. Like, it sounds like it sounds like a derogatory term for a guy who only ever sits on the bench. Like, Johnny Bench over here. He's never going to get a chance to play.
The irony, because he was a good player.
I'm sure he was.
Well, Johnny Bench over here, just serving up Gatorade and eating peanuts.
Exactly. Also, I'm just like kind of getting the sense, I don't know, with each passing year that this like keeps dragging on and on and on through like various commissioners, it's like, just let the guy back in. Like, it's
the way that he just kind of was like, things I saw that I determined at the time were not good. Like,
I mean,
like
do I think that Pete Rose got his life back on track the way Giamatti asked by, becoming friends with Vince McMahon? No. But, in my limited interaction with professional sports since dating you, people have done a lot worse stuff, and they're still playing.
This is a thing that Pete Rose likes to bring up, but we'll get there in a second. So Pete released his memoir, My Prison Without Bars.
Incredible title.
So in this book, he admits to gambling on baseball, but never, ever betting against the Reds. He says, I bet on baseball. I even bet for the Reds because I trusted my team. Every night I bet on the Reds because I wanted to win and I knew we were going to win, even though they didn't always win. Yeah. So he admits this in the book, finally says it after all these years of always denying, never, no way, I didn't do it. He admits it in this book, thinking, I think, that this was like something that would get him on track to being reinstated.
And the angel of Paul Giamatti would bless him, and he would get to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
One little funny sort of anecdote I found is as of March 2014, Rose earns more than $1 million annually from a bunch of paid public appearances and autograph signings, including lucrative ones around Cooperstown, New York, which is this place where the Hall of Fame is, during the Hall of Fame induction weekend.
Oh my God.
So he'll be there at a hotel lobby signing for thousands of dollars a pop and making appearances, even though he's not allowed in, just to be petty.
I mean,
just to be there.
You gotta respect that, though. You have to respect the pettiness and the enterprising spirit.
And just the fact that he's so obsessed with this that he'll go back every year and sit there when new people get added to the Hall of Fame during that ceremony and be like outside at a different resort.
I mean, how many more years of that do you think he has in him?
I don't know.
In the sense that I guess people probably still want those autographs. That's really funny, though. I love that. Like, you can go to the Baseball Hall of Fame if you want. You can also come hang out with me at the Ramada.
Yeah, I'll sign your baseball and tell you some stories about Bart Giamatti. Representatives for Rose applied in 2015 for reinstatement with Selig's successor, Rob Manfred, who was mentioned in that video. However, on December 15th, 2015, Manfred rejected the request. He said that Rose had not been forthcoming about his gambling and was still betting on baseball. He also felt Rose did not have a mature understanding of the wrongdoing of his conduct from the time.
I mean, what this is telling me is one of two things. Either he's done some other worse stuff that like the public doesn't know about, but people inside know about, and therefore they're like trying to maybe.
So there was also like a sexual assault allegation.
Oh.
That we'll get to.
You just slid that in.
Well, it hadn't come up yet.
You know, I was literally sitting here being like, how sympathetic do I want to be for Pete Rose? Because I don't really know what the public opinion.
Yeah. No, it's fine. He's a complicated character. I'm going to play a little bit of a Manfred interview so you can get more of these commissioner men talking.
Wow. This is even more interesting than baseball.
All right, so here's a clip from the Dan Patrick show in 2015 with the commissioner, Rob Manfred, again talking about the Pete case.
What could you hear now that would change what your predecessors were holding true to?
You know, I'm very open-minded on
Has he paid his penance, though?
Topic. It's not a penance question. It's not like I sinned and at some point, that sin is absolved. It is, can you reach the conclusion that it would be okay for Pete Rose to manage a major league club? That's the question you have to ask yourself with respect to the permanently ineligible.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to hold a job. Like, why can't I put him on the ballot? I wouldn't let Pete hold a job in baseball.
I agree with you, Dan, that there are two very, very different issues.
They're so religious about it.
I know. It's like
they're making him out
Pete
to
Rose
be
has
like a martyr.
And whoever is the commissioner of baseball is the Pope.
Yes.
And gets to sort of sit there and make a
like
moral
they keep
judgment.
using words like penance and like absolve and like what are they expecting him to do? He's like a middle-aged, wealthy white dude. Like
I think he still hasn't admitted that he bet on the Reds and against the Reds.
Yeah.
They want him to say every single thing. Pete Rose is doing the thing where he goes like, okay, fine, I did it. But I didn't do it all the way. And it's like, no, we know you did it all the way. Like,
just say it.
You know what I mean? When people admit to most of the stuff, but not the actual full thing.
Or they're like, I'm sorry if I made you feel like I did something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a non-apology or like apology of 5 of the 10 things.
Yeah, like it's not everything.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm like, this is a lot of like puffed up shirt guys.
Yeah.
Like just let the poor man.
So Pete Rose was hired by Fox Sports to serve as a guest studio color analyst in 2015, around the time that Manfred interview you just watched happened.
That's allowed?
Yeah, apparently that's allowed.
Okay.
He made his debut in May of 2015. He was let go in August of 2017 when the details of his sexual relationship with a teenager in the 70s was revealed.
Oh, no.
After he attempted to sue John Dowd for all of this stuff. Dowd was like, I'll one-up you with an allegation.
Keep him out of the record books. I take back everything I said.
Yeah.
I am not a Pete Rose sympathizer. I'm going to get canceled. You tricked me into getting canceled on our own podcast.
I'm literally just laying out
Okay.
what happened. In 2020, Pete Rose, along with his lawyers, again applied for reinstatement. In his petition, he states that his gambling did not affect the outcomes of the games, whereas players have used steroids and electronic signs in the outfield to steal catchers' signals and were not banned from baseball. Houston Astros.
He's talking about the Astros?
He also sent a petition along with it to the Hall of Fame board asking for them to repeal. Neither Commissioner Manfred nor the Hall of Fame have responded. I think we can agree that Pete Rose sucks.
Yeah, clearly.
But
get
on his
over it,
baseball argument,
yeah,
I find myself being like, okay, other people have cheated and
yes,
haven't been completely banned in this way.
No, I mean the Astros were barely punished, were they not?
No, they still are champions from that year.
Yeah.
In 2022, Rose applied again for reinstatement, asking Manfred and saying he's sorry. And he wrote the letter because he still thinks every day about what it would mean to be considered for the Hall of Fame. All right, so I'm going to play you a clip of Pete Rose, still angry now-ish. This is 3 years ago on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Who is Mad Dog?
So Mad Dog, I've heard of. He's just like a Sirius XM, like shock jock sports radio guy.
You happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. I work and I live in Vegas, which is the best place to live. Not because of gambling. I'm not a casino gambler, regardless of what people think. I bet on sports. I mean, I'm 78 years old, so if I wouldn't have bet on the basketball game tonight, which I'm not going to because I'm here, and I want to go home and watch it, what's the big deal? Who am I hurting?
Nobody. Nope. But you
you bet on sports? You better not say yeah, because if you do, you're doing it illegally.
No, I do. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest with you. I can't lie. My wife.
How many people listen to me talk right now bet on the Super Bowl?
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. 100%. Do you think you ever get your day at the Hall of Fame?
No.
You think you ever get your day where you get a chance to sit in a broadcast booth again?
No.
And be at a spring training.
You know what, Chris? Listen to this.
Which bothers you most of all?
Here's what bothers me. Here's what bothers
training?
me. Here's what bothers me. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I played 19 years for the Cincinnati Reds. I got every record that the Reds have. They play on Pete Rose Way today, okay? They play on Pete Rose Way today. I have never been in the clubhouse or the batting cage at the new ballpark. I'm not allowed. In the last 4 years, they had Pete Rose bobblehead night, sold out. They had Pete Rose Hall of Fame, sold out. They had Pete Rose number retirement, sold out. They had Pete Rose's jersey retirement, sold out. So when they needed me to sell the stadium out 4 times.
They need you at the All-Star game when they need you then.
Sold out. I'm allowed on the field. Other than that, I'm not. I even had to pay to watch my son play with the Cincinnati Reds. I wasn't allowed to go on the pass list. What am I, John Dillinger here?
Okay, this is a bitter old man. This is a bitter old man. On the one hand, I think that the Reds clearly doing all this stuff to profit off of his name and importance in baseball is a little bit weird since he's banned. But also, it's so cringy to watch an old white guy be like, I've never been in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I can't go in the batting cage.
And you're that's like a toddler being I want to go get an ice cream and throwing a tantrum.
Let me get an ice cream and play with the big red machine.
Which is a soft serve machine now. Or it's a Coca-Cola machine.
All right. So what are your final thoughts on the whole saga of Pete Rose?
Okay.
And in the interest of Sports Kid Drama Kid, who would play Pete Rose in a movie, or how would you see this, portrayed in art?
This is a movie, as I said before. it's, like a dramatic Oscar contending biopic movie. David Harbour is younger Pete Rose.
And is he made up and made old as he progresses?
No, I think we get a different actor, maybe. Well, I don't know. David Harbour, I guess. I have issues with old age makeup. I don't ever think it looks as real as it should look. And he's going to have to be old for like a significant portion of the movie. I think this is an Oscar contending movie. Like when they put it out, they're going to think that and then it will not get nominated for absolutely anything. Because
the redemption tale no one needs.
The redemption tale no one needs. And it's like people watching this are like, I'm sorry, is this just 90 minutes? Is full 90 minutes of this movie is just him continuing to petition to be reinstated and then not
getting power bombed a couple times?
Like, yeah, I don't know who older
who
Pete
plays
Rose
Bud Selig? Who plays Rob Manfred?
Oh my God. I've already forgotten who Rob Manfred even is.
He's the current commissioner of baseball.
So what?
All right. So you're just saying boring biopic that.
Yeah. It's a boring biopic that nobody asked for. And the other thing I want to say is like, professional sports is often so up their own ass a lot of the time about this stuff. Just like listening to all these men be like, well, there's nothing he can do. And it's like, no, who cares?
Yeah, like, the fact that it's still coming up.
Some people have real problems.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like kind of like Shakespearean and tragic.
Yeah, he's definitely, biopic definitely, but he's definitely got like a King Lear thing going on. Like, his hubris will be his downfall. Well,
I'm glad I could take you through Pete Rose. I actually learned a lot researching this too, because this is, like I said earlier, a guy who my dad and grandpa and, older men in my life always talked about as like one of the baseball greats. And he bet on baseball and he wasn't let in. And I just kind of heard this story throughout my life, but I never really dug into all the facts. So
yeah. And to me, his name is short for Peter, and his last name is Flower. That's what he's been to me. Thanks for listening to Sports Kid, Drama Kid. We hope you enjoyed it and that you didn't feel like you were in a prison without bars.
And if you did, you can tune in a couple weeks when we'll have another episode. And in the meantime, follow us on the social medias.
And subscribe. Tell your friends about it if you liked it.